Welcome back to South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. Al Morganti, Ashlyn Sullivan here with you. Al has an arm. It's healing.
Bionic.
It's certainly bionic. He had surgery. He's feeling good, and he's back with us, which is great news.
Yeah. The better news is you can't do a lot of things. So I tried to cut my nails, but it didn't work. And my wife tried to do the dog's nails and hurt them, so I wouldn't let her get near me because I don't want to lose a hand. And I actually got, for the first time ever, what do they call manicure? I went to a place and said, "Listen, I only want one hand. I just need you to cut my nails." She goes, "Oh no, we'll do the whole thing." And they like shined them up and everything. It was awesome.
Isn't it fabulous to go there?
It's unbelievable.
I'm like,
see. I said, people actually do this? But I wouldn't let her do the other hand. But I'm like, so it was. They wanted like $32, but I said I only did one, but she still charged me $32.
She did?
Yes.
Oh my God. Did she put a clear coat on?
Is that's shiny? Yeah, that's shiny stuff. Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, that make that the headliner. Wow, that's awesome. I've totally lost train of thought of what we're actually doing. Well, how are you feeling? Are you okay?
I'm fine. It's we're gonna see when we go on. We're doing my first game on TV will be Saturday against Anaheim. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what I'm going to do, whether I try to do the sport coat on it or whatever, but we'll come up with something that this will maybe just, I don't know. I have no idea.
Please tune in on Saturday to see what Al's stylist decides he's going to wear, because I don't think you're getting a blazer.
Check out the manicure.
Yep, and we're going to check out the manicure on television. He's TV ready is the moral of the story, if you can't tell.
Took 70 years to get a manicure.
My gosh, that's so funny. I can't believe she charged you full price. You need to go back and argue that. I'm going to give her a call because I know what a manicure should cost. All right, someone that is also somewhat TV ready is the Flyers.
Yes.
My gosh, late night television. I stayed up for almost all of it. I had to go back and watch the last period the next morning because it was really late.
Well, there was another game too before that, so yeah.
Highly disappointing.
No Phillies hat today.
I know. Gosh, it's brutal. I don't even know how else to describe it. It took the life out of the city.
It's funny. I went in Flyers locker room this morning and what do you call them? The Connectneys, the Travises, the Travis Stock Country Club over there in the corner.
Yep.
They were lamenting the Phillies still. Went across the way, Farabee's lamenting the Phillies still. Yeah. So it's still looming in the clubhouse.
Yeah, and they were the biggest fans, the biggest supporters.
Yes.
Even when we talked to Garnet Hathaway last week, who had the Phillies hat on,
yes.
He's brand new, and the guys that get it, and it's disappointing. I think it's surprising. None of us really thought it was going to end that soon.
Yeah, but it was good to see what it's like in a city and have just the emotion for a sports team. Yeah. I think they really fed off of that, so that's cool.
Yeah, it is. Cool. It is very cool, and that game against Vegas. It's almost like rinse and repeat what we talked about with Dallas is, my gosh, they played well. They played well enough to win. No one was expecting that going into play the defending Stanley Cup champions. But, Vegas took much better chance of their chances.
Yeah, they capitalized, and that's what the Flyers still can't. It only takes a couple of chances for Vegas. And for the Flyers, it's going to take maybe 10 more chances to try to get. They don't have the end of the game breaker yet, it seems like. I think there's some potential there for people. But when you're a team like Vegas, it's like, all right, just keep it close, and then we'll just get them at the end. Mm-hmm. We'll have our one chance, and against a good goaltender too. We have a screened on a shot or whatever. And there's something to knowing how to win.
Yeah.
That's a team that for a long just knows how to win, just besides the Stanley Cup, obviously. But since its inception, that has been driven into them. That started in their first year. That they're expected to win. Mm-hmm. And they've built a lineup with veterans and bringing people along that just knows how to win games at the end. And there's a big difference in those teams. It's like if you watch the game, you almost had that sense of like, oh, it's too
good to be true. Totally.
You got to have a margin for error, and there was none.
Yeah, no, you were sitting on the edge of your seat thinking, this is like, I can't even.
Well, you were sleeping, but the rest of us were,
Yeah, well, the next morning, I didn't even look the score because I wanted to see. But yeah, and I think you always ask that question in the locker room. That's the age-old question. Well, how can you learn how to win? We asked that a lot last season, and no one really has a solid answer for that.
No, well, part of it is, much as you want a different attitude or whatever, and they seem to have one, but some of it, Ashlyn, is just talent.
Yeah.
when you've got guys guys that can, one time, it's take that shot. It's what's frustrating right now watching the Flyers, because I think one of their best players overall in the games has been Tippett.
Yeah.
but there's no goals.
Yeah.
And that's the difference where he will, eventually he'll take more shots. Mm-hmm. He'll get more confidence in that. I think he's playing really well. But there's to me, there's the big difference maker right there.
Right.
If he's got 3 goals at this point, even two, might be a different story in a couple of those games.
Yeah, and it's funny you say Tippett's playing well because I feel like the general hockey fan, at least I've seen it on Twitter, is like, where's Tippett been? Oh my gosh, he's stunk this season. Because we're so used to Tippett scoring so often, people just assume he's having a crappy year so far.
No, he isn't. He's when I watch him play, it looks like he's got the puck, carries the puck, brings it in. I don't think he knows how good he can be still.
He's just so humble.
I think there comes a point where there's certain players who love to score goals.
Yeah.
I mean, just love to score goals.
Konechny stands out as someone.
Yeah, it's like you take the shot, and I think Tippett. I mean, when you're schooled and you want to play the right way, defensive responsibilities and stuff. But him, I'm like, man, when he gets going, he gets wheeling down that wing. It's like, just take the shot and let her go.
Right. And I wonder if that's a little bit of what Torts drilled in his head last year, because he was always, if you rank the guys that were pro Torts, it was Tippett was number one, that he adapted to his coaching style. And we know Torts is so defensive minded. I wonder if times that's just the way he's been taught to play.
Yeah, but he's seen when you really look at it now, the Tortorella 2.
Yeah.
It's a little different. I think he's encouraging now those guys to take those chances. When they screw up, they have to deal with it. Yeah. But I don't think that it's a case of they're terrified to do it. I think he actually encourages it. And I've actually seen him live with some of those mistakes with younger players where I thought, oh boy, this is going to cost them. Yeah. I think a veteran player, it costs them. Yeah. But I think he's let these guys have a little bit more free reign than I thought many people expected.
Yeah, I was encouraged today. I thought Torts was his most candid and gave one of the best answers I've heard him give all season. And it was about Emile Andre, who was sent down to Lehigh this morning. And, people asked, well, you have given this guy so many chances and you preached, let the young guys make mistakes. But he's like, you have to understand, I have a job to win hockey games. And at this point, he was costing us winning. So I'm going to let the young guys play, but not to the extent of my hockey team losing because of it.
Yeah, and it's not like it's early in the year, but who knows? I mean, he may be able to stay in contact with a playoff spot. Who knows?
Right.
And in addition to that, I really love that kid. I mean, from first time I saw him at training camp, I'm like, wow, I like that kid. He's really, he's got an arrogance to him, which I think cost him a little bit in terms of his play.
Yeah.
But I also was a little worried that he was going to get hurt because his ability to judge speed coming at him looked a little, he still needed to work on that a little bit to have somebody. And when you get really somebody coming at you like that, you're a defenseman, you can really get stapled, and he's not the biggest guy.
Right.
And I was a little bit concerned about that. I was like, he's going to really get banged here if he doesn't move the puck quicker or whatever, just move it out. And I think he'll help him to play a little more, but I'm anxious to see him back. Of all the guys that I would live with mistakes, I would live with his because I really think there's some upside when I seen this league guy moving a puck or whatever. But I can understand the close games, they don't score many goals, one mistake, and they're going to cost them a game.
Right, and I think this is the guy you're going to see back. I mean, there's going to be injuries and Torts. I'm sure he's going to get a great report from Lehigh, bring him back up. And you hit it on the nail on the head. I have the quote here where he basically said the speed of it, how quick you have to make decisions. He's not making them quick enough right now, and this is not good for him to be up here at this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I never buy it's going to ruin his psyche. Yeah. Well, then if it's going to ruin your psyche,
you shouldn't be here.
Eventually you're not going to be there anyway.
Yeah.
But I do think physically coming in on you and damaging a team's chances with a mistake, that'll hurt a little bit. But I don't think in his long-term development. But I think really he did have to. But that's what's curious to me. I don't know how you get used to the speed if you're not playing at that speed.
Yeah, there's a point
occasionally.
To that.
So I think we'll see him come up later in the year or whatever. But right now I think that the message behind this isn't a mirage with this team. They can hang.
Yeah.
And let's see what we got here. We'll see where we go as we go into November if we're still hanging with these teams.
Yeah, it almost is like towards this, I want to say pleasantly surprised, because he almost has changed his messaging, because a couple of weeks ago it wasn't about sending guys down, it was about keep the young guys up here. So for him to say that today shows me we're doing a little better, and I don't want to risk losing.
Yeah, and then whenever Risto comes back or whatever, then you got another defenseman too, and you don't want a guy sitting.
No.
So that's what happens there. Yeah. And if you trust your development, they've got new development system is in place now, second year. Maybe it works out better.
Mm-hmm. And something that's been, gosh, I think you argue it's been the most positive of the season so far is definitely Bobby Brink. But that line as a whole, Joel Farabee, Noah Cates, Bobby Brink, young guys, and it just fits the mold perfectly of regrouping, rebuilding this line.
Coots, Cates, I mean, it's like, it's really good when you have guys like that. Brink, if I was a player on that bench and you said, who do you want to go out there with? That would be the guy.
Yeah.
Because I think he can get the pass through whatever. Farabee, on the other hand, whatever line you're going to put him on, and now he's, got some line mates that he's getting used to or whatever. I'm really impressed with his game. He's got a very mature game.
Yeah.
And a very heads-up game and a very responsible game. And again, for me, I mean, I love the raw talent at times, and I like guys taking them. And I think there's more to come with him.
Yeah.
In terms of just taking shots or whatever. But I mean, I give the coaching staff credit. They do take care of whenever you ask them anything, their first response always seems to be, you got to take care of defensive responsibilities, and then it comes. But I look at it and go like, I'd be a little more selfish. Get some points, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And Torts called Joel Farabee a very prepared player this morning, and that really seems to be what he's taking charge of this season. And Al actually caught up with Joel Farabee in the locker room this morning, so let's hear about it.
Pretty good start to the season. Torts mentioned it here. What's it like playing that line you're with right now? The kind of the chemistry that you have?
Yeah, I feel like we've just been really good in the D zone. Obviously, Casey and Coots are very similar. They're just very solid in the D zone, so we haven't spent much time there. And I feel like in the offensive zone, we've just been really close to each other. 10-foot plays, little cycle plays, and in terms of a game, it tires their D out, and that's when we can make our plays. So just try and stay with what we're doing. Try not to get too creative with it. Just keep using our hard work to create plays, and we'll go from there.
Not too creative, but it looks pretty creative when you watch it from the stands. Pretty creative stuff going on. I guess that's just the basics, kind of going to the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's, the first, maybe 15 seconds of our shift is grinding down low, and then, we win one of the battles, and then the plays really open up. So, like I said, we're staying close to each other. If one guy, loses the puck, two guys are within 15 feet of him trying to get it back. So, I think if you continue to do that, you're going to keep turning over pucks, and that'll help you out.
What's more comfortable for you this year? You missed so much time then coming in. I mean, you're a young player, but don't take this the wrong way. It seems like you've been here for a long time. You're a young player. What are you more comfortable with in your game right now?
Yeah, I mean, right now, kind of, like we talked about, I just have some really good chemistry with my line mates. I feel like my conditioning, obviously, compared to last year, is a lot better. So I feel like I have that extra jump in my legs to get on pucks and things like that. So, obviously, it's my 5th season, so I'm just, really feeling comfortable, especially year 2 with Torts, too, just his system and what he expects. I kind of understand what he demands every night. And, so for me, I can really just go out there and play.
Does it make a big difference to have a coach a couple of years in a row to really get into something like that?
100%. I think last year was a little bit of a learning curve for everybody, top down. Just trying to get a new system, that can be challenging for anybody. So this year, coming into camp, I feel like everyone knew, what to expect, how we have to play to win games. And, if you do that, you give yourself a chance to win every night.
Cool. So it's funny when you talk about Joel Farabee or you talk to him, it seems like this is this mature guy, and he has been here 5 years, but he is still so young. So, like, you want to call him a veteran, but he's really not. But he is, because he's been here 5 years.
5 years is a long time in this league anymore. But, yeah, it's been and the injury. Yeah. That's what really threw everything back. It's like start over. They go to step 1 again. Mm-hmm. But he really has turned into a solid citizen that understands the game. Well, you do it all the time when you talk to players. You talk to football players, baseball players, whomever. There are certain players that you always go to who will, even if I'm not up on their game plan or whatever, they'll talk you through it and make you understand better what's going on. Mm-hmm. And he's one of those guys. It's funny that usually those guys, ironically, goaltenders tend to be like that, to see everything in front of them. If you notice when you do post-game interviews, a lot of people ask questions to goaltenders as if they're the coach.
Yeah.
Because they're seeing everything laid out in front of them all the time, and they're kind of a separate, all I have to do is stop the puck on, watch this, what do you see? And a lot of goaltenders will talk like that. And Farabee's become, to me, if I want to know, what's going on here? Why are you guys playing like this? What's the new way you're going to forecheck against a certain team? Carolina is going to come in. You're going to do something different against them because you can pin them in a little bit. But he's really a student of the game, and I really like that with young players that really know the intricacies of it.
Yeah, well, he's talking like a veteran.
Yeah,
because a lot of times you do have to depend on the vets in the locker room to be honest, to elaborate, to be truthful with what's going on, and know how to deliver it in a media message.
Yeah.
I mean, a Sean Couturier, Cam Atkinson is, TV darling, ready for it.
Yeah.
Travis Konechny, you have your go-to guys, and it has been cool to see Joel Farabee kind of take that upon himself.
Yeah. I mean, I've been through so many players. I love the players that can take a dumb question and make it sound like it was a good question.
Exactly, because they get a lot of them from us normally.
I asked a lot of dumb questions, and then you get the guy, the veteran, that says, "Are you trying to say this?" Oh yeah, you know what?
Exactly.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. And a guy that has been a little shocking in that regard, I guess on the honesty front, has been Cam York. I go back to our media day interview with him where he was so honest of how messy at times it was in the past for the Flyers. And this is a guy who his play at times is messy, and talked about it this morning, balancing Cam York, defensive-minded, wanting him to take offensive chances, but at times taking those offensive chances cost him, cost the team. How do you balance that? Torts is like, I don't know right now.
Yeah, York's an interesting duck to begin with. He's entertaining as heck. Whether we're on the ice or off the ice, he's a fun guy. I think basically what that boils down to is time and score when you can do certain things. Defenses. I mean, those guys, they make a mistake. We saw it last game. I mean, a couple of times. Yeah. I mean, you make a mistake and it buries you. And again, Torts is being careful to not kind of put a harness on them at times, but you just know the score and know what's going on. It's almost it's almost like in baseball for guys and people that have played baseball. No matter where you are, it could be in a little league game or a World Series, and somebody will yell out to you if you're I was an infielder. There's 2 outs. Just to remind you of time and place. So you just have to be that guy to kind of, and you have to, as a defenseman, you always have to know that. And if it was in baseball terms, how many outs are there were, but in hockey terms, how much time and where's the score? Yeah. Do we take that chance or not? So more and more people are taking it because you watch, and especially, I'm not so concerned because it's early season. If you watch all around the league right now, there's awful plays. Yeah. I mean, it's just wide open. And you see goals going in, the guys taking shots from God knows where because their defensive responsibilities aren't nailed down yet. Mm-hmm. So I'm not that worried. But that's the kind of mistake, if you make it in October, okay, live with that, maybe early November even. Yeah. But as you get to the playoffs, big games like that can happen, and I think you have to coach that out now.
Right, and I think that's why Torts is pointing it out, and it's so true. Bush was talking about this at practice today. He was talking about the TNT game last night, the Devils game, and he was saying there were goals going in that have zero excuse to go in.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
How messy it was.
Yeah, that game was like every goal was scored on one end of the ice.
Yeah.
So it was unbelievable. Yeah. It was one period, next period. So it's crazy. But that is true. Early in the year, you're going to see crazy stuff like that.
And that's why I think it's a little forgiving at the moment. And now the Flyers, they get ready. Minnesota Wild at home Thursday night. And then you have Anaheim at home on Saturday. And, they just went through a mini gauntlet of 2 teams, really tough teams on the road. Now these are 2 teams where you feel like you should be able to win these games at home.
Yeah, well, Minnesota's scoring goals.
They started rough. They're getting better.
Yeah, Minnesota's a strange team. It's like every year.
Can't figure them out. Yeah.
They're a good team, but they never seem to take that next step. Mm-hmm. And I think the GM's done a great job bringing people in, goaltending options that they have. But they're not going to be judged till the playoffs. Yeah. And that's just, they play a really solid game. So that'll be tough for them. Anaheim's a different bird altogether. Young Zegras, Drysdale. I mean, they've got some terrific young players, and that's what they Flyers will have to be on the guard against. That those fancy. I know, Tortorella says he doesn't like the Michigan or whatever, like the Zegras type of thing, but actually Zegras went up to Tortorella last year and they went over and shook hands or whatever. He's fine with it.
You don't like my play.
It doesn't. I love those plays, but they've got a couple of guys that can really throw that at you.
Yeah.
So of all the teams, that's the one that you don't want to get embarrassed by somebody up front doing something like that to you. So they should be and it's a 1 o'clock game too.
Yeah.
That's an odd thing. And a West Coast team coming here. So yeah, I think it'll be a good show. I think Anaheim in the future will be a really good show. I like watching that. It might drive Tortorella crazy and some others, but I love watching some of the stuff, some of the way they play. When I watched, Drew, you mentioned Jersey last night.
Yeah.
I watched Hughes. I go, oh man, it's just so good.
Yeah.
It's just so good. So I mean, you get some potential there. So it's I think it's good for the league to have stuff that's going on. The league's had a good start.
Yeah.
With the every night everybody played.
The Frozen Frenzy, that was cool.
Yeah, it's kind of, I liked it for one night, but I think if you're a season ticket holder, I don't think you want to have like a game at 7:45, 8:50. I mean, once a year, I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. It was neat. It got a lot of attention.
It did. Yeah. I was a little confused, I think, just as a general viewer of sports. One, why Tuesday night? Two, opening night of basketball. I thought it was weird scheduling that you're going up against that. But I mean, there's so much sports going on now. When can you even pick a day? Because football's on, it seems like every day of the week at this point.
Yeah.
So you really only have two options.
No. And I think hockey's had a bit of a resurgence. I know some of the, like we're doing a podcast, whatever. And I think a lot of people like the new game, a more wide open game.
No, I agree. And I think it's expanding countrywide. I can speak coming from South Florida, growing up, Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning, no one really watched. No one really cared.
Well, now they care more about the Lightning than the baseball team.
Big time. It's flipped.
Yes.
Not to say that the Miami Marlins and the Rays had this rabid fan base, but it definitely was 1A, 1B, and it has flipped the past 5 years. And I think a team like Carolina Hurricanes, I have friends that moved to Raleigh that they go every weekend. It's like a social event now for people in their 20s, which I couldn't speak to that a couple years ago.
They have to win.
Yeah.
And that's the caveat that you don't usually have in Philly, Boston, Chicago. Well, Chicago's now going to get back on track. Mm-hmm. Detroit actually lost some attendance, but those other markets, it's like you got to win.
The small markets.
And that's why it's so critical to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Even if it's a one round, to see what it's like in the playoffs, to get that atmosphere of the playoffs, which is why I never have a problem with adding playoff teams. I'm all for, if you told me every team's going to make the playoffs, I'm like, I'm in.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the Panthers are a great example of that. Yep. If you saw that atmosphere, you wouldn't think that was in
I mean, Philly, you can complain that you knocked out in a baseball series by an Arizona team, but last year you were that Arizona team.
Right.
You come in, and so baseball's become like hockey.
Yeah.
Just get in.
And you never know what can happen.
You never know what's going to happen, and it's a party.
It is. It's been fun to watch, and so far so good. And we'll see if the Flyers can get these wins this week in this home game. So thank you for watching South Philly Sauce and Audacy Original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. We will see you next time.